Hey YouTube, today we're going to be looking at some Glock pistols, and the reason I'm going to look at these pistols today is I got an idea from a viewer about Glock triggers, and he made an interesting point. He said that all Glock triggers should theoretically be the same, and he's right. They really should be. I mean, there's a very simple design on these pistols. It's gone virtually unchanged for 40 years, and you would think that they would be pretty consistent across the board. Now, I understand there's been a couple changes here and there over the years, but basically it's the same design that they've had for 40 years on these guns. But boy, is that not the case. They are a lot different amongst each individual pistol. You'll feel a big difference in them. But anyway, before we go any further, I'm going to let you know that these Glock pistols that I've selected here are not loaded. They've been safety checked, and as I pick them up, I will show you there's nothing in them. We're going to try and struggle through this video. I'm still a little bit ill, but I'm getting better by the day, folks, and I appreciate the kind words a couple people's told me, and I do apologize for my voice and everything. I'm going to do the best I can, though. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with this Glock 30S. This is the one that I carry every single day. I just showed you that it's not loaded. Now, they only made these in Gen 3, and I've had several of these, folks. I swear by these guns. I've done a couple videos on them. This is the one that I carry every single day of my life, and I have a bunch of firearms, and this is the one that I rely on my life on every single day. And the 30S, I've gone over it before, has the thinner slide than the Glock 30. It has nothing to do with the frame size. Right here it says SF. It is the 30S. If you look right here on the side, it says 30S. That's for slim slide. They only made these in Gen 3. Now, I don't know if that makes a difference in the way the triggers perform or not. I know that it has 2 pins that holds this trigger group in, and some of these later ones that I'll show you here only have single pins, and that's some of the differences in the generations, but I've had several of these. The last one I had before this one, I gave it to my sister. And I immediately bought another one, immediately. And this one's not quite as good, have as good a trigger as the one that I gave to her. Now that trigger was probably the best of any Glock that I've ever owned. This one is not bad, so I'm going to demonstrate them to you. Glocks have a little bit of spongy triggers on them, and you're never going to make a striker fire gun as good as, maybe a hammer fire gun, but you just have to live with it, folks. It's in the design of it. You're not going to make a Honda Civic as fast as a Ferrari. I mean, you can do some changing around and get it close, but it's never going to be a Ferrari. So, I'm going to show you real close here. You see, it's got a little bit of take up to it, and that's where it goes off. And the reset to it is pretty tactile, and it's a pretty good trigger. I would say it's probably in the top, maybe 5 of the ones that I've owned in Glocks and the triggers. But it's a pretty decent trigger. And this, like I said, this one's important to me because this is the one that I rely on my life with every single day. Of all the firearms that I own and all the ones that I've showed you, this is the one that I rely on my life with. So this one has to be pretty important to me. Pretty decent trigger. It's not the best one I have, but it's pretty close. So we're going to move on to a weird one here. This is probably my second favorite Glock, folks. And this is a 9mm, believe it or not. You know how much I make fun of 9mm. But this is a Glock 19X. This is the one with the large frame, the full-size frame, and the short and slide. And this is the one that was presented to the military for the modular pistol system. And we're not going to get too far into all that, folks. This is all about triggers. But that's what this is, and this is one of my favorite configurations. Now, what makes this one weird is this is the second one I've ever owned. And I've gone through it many times. I usually don't sell firearms, but this is one that I did sell. The very first one I ever bought it brand new. Brought the thing home and had the worst trigger I've ever seen in my life in it, in a Glock. I mean, it was horrible. Now, I'm not saying Glocks are great triggers anyway, because I've been very open and honest about that, but this one was exceptionally bad. And full disclosure, all these Glocks that I have, and every Glock that I have that I don't have here on this table, I always put one of those 3.5 pound ghost bars inside here. And what that does, changes the geometry a little bit of the mechanism. It lightens the trigger up a little bit. It does not make it 3.5 pounds, and it doesn't make it an awesome, 1911 style trigger, but it does improve it. It's a very simple thing to do without changing the geometry of the mechanics on the inside of it and not changing too much of the design, because what Glocks are on is to be reliable. So the more you change on them, you're going to take away some of that reliability. So I did that to the first 19X I ever bought. It had the worst trigger I've ever seen. It had this weird hitch on the inside of it, and I couldn't correct it. I mean, I took the thing apart and see what I could do, and I sold the gun. I just couldn't do it. And as honest as I am with folks, because I can't stand people trying to rip people off, and everybody knows this. I told the guy why I was selling it. I said, I'm immediately going to go buy another one, but this thing's got a horrible trigger in it. And he tried it, and he goes, it feels fine to me. I was like, awesome. Glad it works out for you. It doesn't work for me. So this one here, it's a lot better. So there's that much take-up. You still have your little Glock sponginess, and I mean, it feels pretty good. It's close to that 30S right there, but the reset on it is right here, and it's got a pretty good trigger on it. But that first one that I had was horrible, folks. I had to get rid of it and immediately bought another one, and I have never looked back with this one. This is my second favorite Glock, and I don't have any plans on selling this one. Now we're going to move to what I would say is the best trigger of the ones that I own. And this one here is a Gen 5 Glock 19. A Glock 19 is probably the most popular handgun in the world. And this is an early Gen 5. It does not have the front serrations on them. If you see, it's got the single pin that holds the trigger group in it. So this is the latest and greatest craze in Glock terms. But same thing I did to all the rest of them. Put the Glock, put the Ghost 3.5 pound trigger bar in it. That's all I do to them. I don't see G-springs or anything in them. And this one has probably the best trigger of any Glock that I own right now. There's your take-up on it, and boy, is it crisp. I'm telling you what, it just makes a world of difference on it. There's your reset, and this one is absolutely the best trigger of any Glock that I have. And I wish it was in this one, because I had one of these, this 30S, that felt just as good as this one, and I gave it to my sister. I should go find her and trade her back for this one. I would never do that, but just saying it as a joke. But yeah, this trigger here is exceptional in Glock terms. It's not going to be like a 1911 trigger, but it's pretty good. Now, the worst trigger of any Glock that I have. Now, does that mean I hate this gun? No, this is the same. This is kind of the same deal as the 19X. This is one of my favorite configurations, folks. Now, everybody knows that I'm a 45 ACP guy, and this is a full-size Glock 21, full-size 45 ACP. This gun has the worst trigger of any Glock that I have. It's not as bad as the 19X that I bought that time that I had to get rid of, but it's pretty close. So I'm going to show you what a bad one is. If you look, it's just so spongy. It just doesn't feel right or anything, and then it just breaks right there. Now, the reset on it is pretty good, but you have that little bit of sponginess, and it just does not feel as crisp. It's nowhere near as bad as the 19X that I ended up getting rid of. But if you take this trigger and you compare it to this Glock 19 right here, if you look at this take-up part, there's just a lot less sponginess, and that thing's just really crisp. This thing here is just real spongy, and then eventually it breaks, and it's just not the same thing. And you would think that this is the Gen 4, so it still has the 2 pins on them, and the real nice one here is the Gen 5 with the single pins on them. I don't know if that makes any difference or not, but the gentleman brought it up. He said that he had a 19X that felt exceptional to every other Glock he's ever felt, and I 100% believe him. I don't think it had anything to do with the fact that it was a 19X. I just think it was he got a good one. And there's a gentleman that's on YouTube that's a big Glock guy that a lot of people follow and watch his videos. All he does is rave about Glocks and everything, and he'll tell you he'll pick one up and he'll say, that one's got a way better trigger on it than the other one. And it's just true, folks. It's just, I have no idea why, but the same pistols, made the same factory at the same time, two of them will come out and feel completely different. And the ones I have here in front of me, I specifically chose for a reason. This is the worst one that I have with the trigger, and this is the best one that I have. And these two are pretty decent. So that's why I chose these particular ones. And let me know what y'all think. Is it a generation thing? Is it a model thing? Tell me what you think about these Glock triggers. Do you have one that's exceptionally bad? Do you have one that's exceptionally good? I'd like to hear about it. Let me know what model it is, what generation it is, how long you've had it, and what you've done about it. But anyway, folks, you have any questions on any of these firearms? I have individual videos on each and every one of them. This really wasn't about the models of them. It's just more about comparing Glock triggers. Thank you very much for watching my video today. You folks have a great day.